Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this IELTS presentation brought to you by Next Education. My name is Ali Musman, and this presentation is brought to you by Next Education, the premier edtech company in the field of education and technology. So as we continue and get to know each other, you can also let me introduce yourself and post about yourself in the chat box. So let me begin the topic now. The topic for today is IELTS writing. IELTS writing is definitely a more challenging area for students. Many struggle with this because it's more dynamic and you have to struggle with a lot of concepts and questions. We'll understand how you can crack the IELTS writing code, and towards the end, you will also get a chance to interact with me and discuss about all the questions that you have related with IELTS. So let me move ahead now. These are the things that we have lined up for you in today's agenda. I'll be looking at 5 key takeaways in IELTS writing. What you need to do to become better when you're writing for the IELTS examination. The first thing is you must know what examiner is marking based on. Second is the writing section task 1. Then we'll take an in-depth look at task 2, how it should be structured, how you must develop your task 2 writing. Then take 4 is about vocabulary, precision, and not just about complexity. Then the final takeaway is how you can increase one band up. It's just one habit away, but why does it feel so challenging? So let me understand from you, all of you, I believe, are teachers and educators. What is the biggest challenge that you face with your students when you interact with them during IELTS writing? Can some of you put in the chat box, what is the biggest challenge that you all face during IELTS writing? Is it task 1, task 2? What is the major concern that your students have and you face as an educator? If you can let me know, it will help me even better during this whole interaction of ours. I believe all of you are educators over here, teachers who are interacting. So we have Fauzia, who is from Indian English Academy. You can share your thoughts where you're facing difficulty, where you're teaching some students. Are you aware of this concept? Do you face difficulty while interacting with students in IELTS writing? If you have some doubts, you can post it in the chat box, else I'll move ahead. Sangeeta says they are not able to express in fumbling about words. Is that also happening while they are writing? This was a common concern, while speaking. I can understand while speaking, they are often facing this problem. But even while writing, Sangeeta, do you think this is happening? And what about others? What problem are you facing with your students? Are they struggling for words? Searching for that right words? Is that the only problem that your students are facing? You can write freely whatever problems you have faced till now. Okay. It's with spelling. Okay, Joseph has mentioned it is spelling. Struggling for the right words or vocabulary. Excellent. Khatri has mentioned that it is searching for right vocabulary. Weak in content. Okay, excellent. They use the type of English which looks quite spot on. Okay, this is very interesting from Anu Rahim. Interesting. Now you've started to speak about all the problems that you're facing with your students. Homophones especially, right? That can be a very challenging topic. They have word constraints, and also to sum up in concise form. Excellent point from Ritu here. We'll be addressing that point actually in general training task 1 writing, why this is such a big issue of summing it up in few words. You don't have a lot of words provided to you by IELTS. That's why this can become extremely challenging to sum it up, write it in few concise words. Very good point there by Ritu, and let us address it. Why most candidates stay at band 5 itself? Why are they not progressing, say, to band 7? Band 7 and band 6 are more targeted because you can go to abroad and you can target foreign universities. But why are many students lacking behind? Creative writing is lacking. Fauzia says that most students are studying in a very rote manner. They are not learning to be creative while they are addressing task 1 questions. What they do is they only study it in English. You remember how in school, all this would work perfectly fine. But in IELTS, you need different kind of strategy. You need a strategy where you express yourself more freely according to what the topic is asking you to do. You cannot just mug up the question and write an answer that you feel is correct. That would be like studying English. You're writing well, it's not completely bad. However, the score is still being restricted to band 5 or 5.5. You use big words. You've just learned vocabulary, word of the day. You've learned multiple words and using them continuously. But you're not using it in context. You're not using them. Why are you using this? Why the topic is happening? Supporting sentences are missing. Task 1 has limited time. It generally gives you 20 minutes of time. And that's why they are not addressing in limited time. They fix with rote learning. Exactly. Have no idea why their score isn't moving. This last point, I believe, is the biggest reason why many students are not able to progress. What happens in a student or anyone, for a moment, forget about IELTS. If you're not able to make any progress in life, there is something missing. You're not doing something right? So you have to go back and reflect at the strategies that you're following. So students over here are not following the right strategy. They are using big words. They are using multiple adjectives at a time, which isn't correct over here. So what they need to do is become more descriptive. A strategy that you can use with your students is give them more simpler topics, help them to write, give them some description, tell them to write more and more. So with this, they'll be able to write at least 150 words first. Then ask them to write the same thing within 20 minutes of time. Make them familiar with the topic. Then you can make them familiar with the IELTS writing of general training task 1. How many of you are familiar with what examiners are expecting in IELTS writing? Are you aware of this? Anyone who is aware, you can write in the chat box. There are 4 sections that every writing task has to cover. Are you aware of these 4 sections? These categories are extremely important whenever you address any writing task. Today, we'll take a look at this in more in-depth. First, we have task response. Now, what do you mean by task response in an IELTS writing? Task response means when I give you a question, whenever you're provided with an IELTS question, is your response correct and is speaking or writing according to the question that is being asked out of you or not? Do you fully answer that question? Is your opinion clear throughout or not? This is the first thing that the examiner is looking for. If you're writing a complaint letter, for example, do you have a clear purpose in your response? Or you're probably writing the language that is more requesting in a complaint letter. So that is the first thing that you must address. There is task response. Make your student write multiple times only for your task response. They don't have to go beyond that. Are they understanding what the task is supposed to do? They have to write a complaint letter. That's all they need to do. Are they using the correct language for it? Are they using the correct vocabulary for it? Is the grammar appropriate for that question or not? We'll be looking at it in more detail, how you can develop it. Second is coherence and cohesion. What do you understand by this section, coherence and cohesion? Good evening. And what do you understand by it? If anyone wants to explain coherence and cohesion, they can quickly write in the chat box if someone is familiar with it. What is coherence? What do you understand? All the participants. I see so many participants here. What do you understand by coherence? Yes, Kavita, it is connectivity of thoughts. Anyone else? What else do you understand by coherence? How do you build it? Or what do you tell your student? Suppose a student is asking you, what is coherence? Ideas logically, in order. Good. I see Kavita explaining that, it is something that you explain it in order, logical. Okay. So, yes. So, clear. All right. Yes. Now we are explaining it in much more simpler terms, which the student can also understand. Coherence and cohesion is given by IELTS so that we can understand it. But what it means is connect well with the topic is what Harshita has said. It exactly means coherence and cohesion. You're using different language for it, but excellent. Smooth connectivity. Wonderful. So what it means is your essay is moving like a smooth flowing river. Everything is logically organized. It isn't disorganized. So what topic you're provided with, it is logically moving as you're mentioning Molly, logical thought, clarity and flow. Do ideas link naturally? This is extremely important and I want you to pay focus about this. Do your ideas link naturally or not? So you have to pay close attention to this as well. Then the third section in this is lexical resource. What do you understand by lexical resource? Easy to understand. That's correct, Yasmin. It is easy to understand. Whatever you're writing, it's very easy for others to follow. It should not be complicated. Rashmi has mentioned that it is related to vocabulary. Good. So lexical by its nature means related to words and language. So it is related to a wide range of vocabulary. Say someone who is not having a wider range of vocabulary, the IELTS band score will immediately be reduced for such a student. Although the student is not speaking and just writing, but still, as you pointed out in the earlier conversation that we were having, some of the students are struggling for words. They're not having enough words. So words and meanings are lacking. And that's why students are lacking the marks. One of the key area for providing marks for an IELTS examiner is their lexical resource. They look out for the words that the student is using. Are you using the right language or not? Then it goes a step further. Are you using the correct words according to the question? If the question is about travel, if the question is about request, you must have an appropriate tone, appropriate vocabulary. Last is grammatical range and accuracy. Grammatical range and accuracy, what does it deal with? Yes. Proficiency assessments. Okay, yes, that is correct. Proficiency assessments, that is also true. But grammatical range and accuracy, what does it completely cover? Proficiency means something you're better at, but what is types of sentences? Okay, so grammar, yes. So how good is your grammar and how accurate is your grammar? In that comes your types of sentences, your tenses, your vocabulary, your pronoun, your noun, everything. Ideally, you should have minimal errors as possible, but you must also have a wide range of grammatical use. Imagine a student who is only speaking in simple sentences. Simple sentences are those that are not long enough, very, very short and crisp. Those sentences will result in lesser marks. You must have a mix of simple as well as complex sentences. That's what they are looking for in grammatical range and accuracy. Are you able to provide it to them? Now, how is it? Different levels of grammar for different types of classes? Yes, that's true, Molly. So each of this criterion that is presented in front of you has 25% weightage given to them. So whenever you write an essay, that is being weighed on this criteria. So always be careful about it and always inform the students that these are the parameters that they will be judged upon. Any of you, some doubt in this? If you have doubts, you can post in the chat box about maybe the criterion, task response, lexical resource. If you have some particular doubt, you can post it in the chat box. Now we'll understand more closely what the examiner is marking based on. Whenever you get general training task 1, the first thing that you must also understand over here is the criterion. The criterion we have already discussed. The letter, you must get to closely understand whether it's a formal letter, it's a request letter, complaint letter. The first thing you will be noticing in the language is whether this letter is about a complaint, this letter is formal or informal. Let me ask you, how do you differentiate between formal and informal letter? A letter is given to you. What do you tell your students how to differentiate between formal and informal letter? How do you differentiate that? Format, okay. And when you say format, what is the question? How do you differentiate just from the question? Anyone else? First person. Yes, okay. To whom it's written. Okay. From the nature of the question, right? Nature of the person. The nature of the question, someone said that. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean? Language, authority, familiarity. Okay. Tone and purpose of writing the letter, the relationship. So one way to understand the formality of letter, formal letters are professional or official. I believe Vani mentioned it, so that's a good point to pick up on. Formal letters are extremely official based. So you have to understand on that basis. They are generally written for some person whom you are not aware of. Informal letters are written to your friends or family members, right? So that is the basic difference between formal and informal letters. Whenever you're writing a letter or the question comes to you, to a person whom you're not aware of, you're not met that person, then you would consider it as a formal letter. If it's already known to you, then it would become an informal letter. Let me give you an example. The example would be you're inviting your friend to your house to a party. Is this a formal or an informal letter? Inviting a friend to your party, if the letter is of official or friendly in nature, yes. So whenever you're yes, informal nature, correct. So informal, exactly. And when you have to, excellent. So I see a lot of people getting that right. This is more of an informal letter. Language is polite and formal. So Fausia has gone a step further and she mentions that, the language in formal letter would become more polite and it would become more respectful. The idea is that you do not know this person, you haven't met this person, or even if you have met, maybe they are at a higher position than you are. So you're using a language that is more respectful of the position of other things as you haven't met with this person. On the other hand, in informal letter, you're more casual because you're writing to your friend. If you behave in a very formal manner in such an interaction, here marks would be cut for that. If you're using words which are like hello and I would like, using modal verbs in informal letter, that would be incorrect. So always be careful of that distinction. Write with purpose. What is writing with purpose? How can you write with purpose in a letter? It is written to a post or designation, yes. What is writing with purpose? What do you understand by writing with purpose? Okay, to the point, says Kavita. Focused, yep. And what else? Does anyone else understand writing with purpose? Write with purpose means, Kavita has mentioned that it is, writing with purpose is on point. It can be directly coming to the point and not wasting anything. If you have got deviate from the point, if you have gotten a question of complaint letter or invitation letter also, do not deviate from the point and immediately in the opening 2 lines address this question immediately. If you're not related to this particular topic and are deviating from it, then you're not writing with purpose. Maybe you're writing on your meeting with that friend, or you're writing with the meeting with that person. This is not writing with purpose at all. Focus on clarity. How can you bring more clarity, or how can you tell a student that his or her writing is not clear? What makes you say that? Why do you say that writing isn't clear? The third point says that writing isn't clear. What makes any educator says that writing isn't clear in an IELTS examination? It's a very important point about clarity. Clarity helps you understand about coherence and cohesion, which we tackle during the band descriptors. Clarity means there should be a clear flow of thought. The student's writing should come to you across simply. Whatever they are trying to convey, their ideas should be presented to you in a manner that you're able to understand. If their ideas are muddled up, if they are presenting, let's say, 10 ideas in one sentence, then it will get lost. Even though they are brilliant ideas, maybe he or she is trying to present some brilliant ideas, but they won't come across to you. So clarity is extremely important. And finally, aim for consistency. As we have been discussing, if it's a formal letter, that consistent tone has to be there throughout the letter. So these are the things that will make a letter a good letter and stand out. Now we'll have a look at how writing task 1 is based upon. In IELTS writing examination itself, there are 2 types of exams. One is general training and the second is IELTS Academy. We'll be paying a more closer look at general training in this presentation and also look at IELTS Academy. So in general training, the most crucial thing is to match the tone to relationship, whether it is formal, semi-formal, or informal. What kind of tone to use? That would depend on the question that is being asked out of you. So you must depend on that and look for the question, read it thoroughly. The format is visible to you. If there are 3 bullet points, then it means that it is IELTS writing task 1. Whenever there are 3 bullet points given to you, it is IELTS writing task 1. This is a tip that you can remember and always tell your students also. The salutation, the sign of beginning of the letter must be there. It could be dear sir, yours faithfully. It should match however you're beginning the letter. That will indicate to the examiner that you're following the right salutation and right conclusion. Focus, purpose, detail, and action in that order. Finally, there is only 20 minutes of time for you to write this letter. The time isn't maximum like 50 minutes or 60 minutes. And a word count is also given to you. So word count is of 150 words. So you need to pay overview and not give the entire data. Let me ask you, do you think 150 words is sufficient amount of words for you, or your students face difficulty because of this cap of 150 words? Is this easy for students to write, or is it challenging? Challenging. Challenging, okay. Right. They face challenge, okay. Right. So 150 words depends upon the topic, says Harshita and others, and some say it is challenging. Interesting. So 150 words, these are smaller number of words, but maybe it is topic based. When you say topic based, what do you mean? Harshita, what do you mean that it is topic based? What kind of topic does the student find more challenging? Or others can also mention. If they find 150 words being easier or challenging on particular topics, they can mention it. During academic, for IELTS academic, if some of your students are attempting that, what are the things that you must specifically address? Here, you can't address each and every task that are given to you. It's generally given in the form of maps or trends. You must pay an outline of this. You cannot give each and every data that is provided to you in the essay. Do not describe every number. Examiners will penalize you for this. So be careful about it. Overview of paragraph is mandatory. Then group data logically. These are important points, especially for academic IELTS. We also have a very interesting group of Next Education webinar updates. You'll get all the interesting updates about webinars, not only about English, but all other subjects, where all the latest news and happenings and updates about each and every webinar will be posted there. The link has been posted in the chat box. You can click on the link and join it. You'll get all the updates and events about it from the WhatsApp group. So here you're able to see writing task 1 in this picture. What you can analyze over here, this slide, is a general question about academic paper. But what is interesting to see here is the trends that are being presented. If in band 5, the person has written each and everything that is being presented in the question, such an answer will be penalized and the band would be a lower band. However, what matters is presenting a concise amount of information that will be useful for the examiner to read. So you don't have to write each and every information that is given to you. What you must provide is important and concise information. One of you actually said that providing concise information is extremely challenging for students. So this is the topic that we'll address more closely. Why providing shorter information of 150 words becomes such a big challenge, even though a time limit of 20 minutes is provided. Why is it such a big challenge? Have you thought about it? What do your students actually tell? Where do they face the biggest challenge in 20 minutes and 150 words, which is task 1? So what I have over here is a general training task 1 letter. You can see the question and the answer is also there. But instead of writing the same answer, this question is actually open for you all educators. You can actually write a response for this question, but do not write the same response. Write a response that you feel is more accurate, okay? According to you, change it and address the question that is presented here. The question, I will read it. You recently stayed at a hotel and were very unhappy with the service. Write a letter to the hotel manager. So the task for this letter is that you have to write a letter to the hotel manager. This is the task, writing a letter to the hotel manager. The moment you read the letter, you must understand and address this section, writing a letter to the hotel manager. There is one more key point that you must focus on. You stayed at the hotel and you were extremely unhappy. These words are very, very important. Now, here are 3 bullet points given, which makes it general training task 1 letter. What you must do over here is you have to cover all the 3 bullet points that are mentioned to you. First one, what went wrong? Second one, how the problem affected you. Third, what action you would like the manager to take, and write in at least 150 words. I have a sample answer in front of you. Instead of writing the entire letter that is presented as a model answer, I want you to write a short letter in another 5 minutes of time. I'll give you a limited amount of time. Write it and you can post it in the chat box. Then we'll have a quick read. This letter is divided into 3 sections. You can begin writing, all of you. I'll just explain quickly. This is your task response. They're expressing their dissatisfaction. Then here is your body paragraph 1. What should happen? What happened when they stayed at this hotel? So they're mentioning that the bed sheets with soil and the bathroom floor was wet. Some problems which they are raising where they weren't happy with it. Then because of this reason, they're also mentioning few other problems, and they mentioned that I was unable to rest before an important business meeting. So they are raising a very important issue that they couldn't rest over here. Finally, I would therefore request, what do you want? Here it says, say what action you would like the manager to take. So this says full refund for the first night's stay. So anyone who wants to take up the challenge and can write this letter in their own words, don't select the topic once again of this one. Give other reasons. I want to see if you can be more creative and come up with your own responses. I just want to see if you can do that. Whoever willing to write, quickly, if they can write and post it in the chat box. So we are getting some responses here. I'm writing to express my profound disappointment with my recent stay at your hotel. I chose to stay. Okay, but unfortunately, I received. Well, okay, yes. So this is a good letter in which she has listed out all the problems, and the problems aren't similar to what problems are mentioned over here. She has listed out the problem. Vani has mentioned that, the air conditioning unit was malfunctioning, which made the room extremely uncomfortable. Good points. What the letter tells you, you must be able to write it something, create some problem in your own words. When I reported these problems at the front desk, the staff was unresponsive and unhelpful and dismissive. Excellent. So others can also come up with their own problems and something that they wish to tell. So here is some more description. You don't have to write the complete name, like to the hotel manager is not required. You can just begin with dear sir or madam. This can be avoided. Fauzia has also mentioned writing about during my visit, I faced several problems, check-in process. Okay, so she has mentioned a different problem, which is the check-in process was very slow. These issues made me start and not address promptly. Good. I would like to look into this. I would like you to look into this and explanation. Very good. This is nice. So all of you, some of you have actually written. That's encouraging. So always share this kind of letters to your students. Encourage them to write. Tell them to write in this fashion. I can see Nasreen has also shared. I would appreciate if you could investigate this matter. Yes. The words like, I regret to inform you that my stay was not satisfactory, clearly shows your displeasure. You're unhappy with something, because the task response has to clearly indicate that you aren't happy with what happened at the hotel stay. So something for you to remember and tell your students also. Okay. Excellent. Excellent, everyone, whoever shared their letters. Others, I'm sure, are also writing. So here you can see an entire letter, once again in action. What you see here is that the first part of the letter is the purpose of the letter. Okay, this is called as the purpose of the letter. This is a completely different question, but what purpose of the letter you want to explain, it happens in this first two lines. It's extremely important. The reason why I'm stressing on the purpose of the letter so many times is, if you remember, there is a section, a criterion of task response. So task response is only awarded to you for these two lines. If you're unable to meet these two lines successfully, then the purpose of the letter, your task response, everything goes down. That is 25% of your marks. So always remember this. Then the letter is very interesting as it goes along easily. It's easier to read. First, it explains about the heating of the living room, then a leakage, then other issues it also mentions. So all these things are an explanation of the problem. And finally, it is suggesting a suitable time when it can come and meet and repair and fix the problem. So these are, examples that you can keep in your mind whenever you're addressing task 1 letters. You must always use these kind of letters and also guide your students to follow this method. Thanking to improve your service. I'll try to front. And you're trying to write, it will bring out something that you haven't done before or you aren't practicing. What I just wanted to see is if you're focusing on the task or the purpose of the letter or not. It's excellent that you are still trying it. Now let us move to the task 2 of the letter. Task 2 of the letter is supposed to be even more challenging than task 1. Every person says this and they find it much more confusing and challenging, although you have a lot more time given to you by IELTS examination. In IELTS examination, you will get 40 minutes of time to address task 2. Do you feel task 2 is essentially more challenging? Have your students told that to you? Any of your students, have they mentioned that task 2, they find it more difficult? Did someone mention that to you? Or which task does the student feel more easier or difficult to attempt? Some of the reasons why task 2 can be a little more challenging is because task 2 is your opinion. It is an essay that has more words, not 150 words. Now it will have 250 words. And the time is a little longer. So you have the luxury to take out some time, roughly 5, 7, or even about 8 minutes of time to think what you're going to write in your essay. How you're going to do this is you can just, take that pen and write down some points, what you're going to write in your essay. Just before you start writing the essay, create an outline of the essay so that your essay becomes more organized to read. It will be easy for the examiner to read and understand. Divide the essay into 4 points as it shows. First is introduction. Second is your body paragraph 1. Third is body paragraph 2. And last is your conclusion. Introduction should be a paraphrase of the question that is being provided to you. If the question asks, some people believe that online shopping is extremely convenient, whereas other people believe that online shopping is not good for the youth. What do you believe? So questions can be of this nature. It is opinionated. What do you personally believe if I ask you that some people believe that online shopping is extremely good, whereas other people believe and argue that online shopping has many disadvantages? What do you believe? Yes, that is conclusion. So what do you all believe when an essay comes about to you in this fashion? Do you feel, how will you address that? How will you present the opinion, the problem, solution, the advantages and disadvantages? The problem is sometimes, a thing can be left or ignored in these essays. What you have to highlight over here is you must address all the points, not just highlight your own point. So let us look at one example. So here you have a question. Some people believe success in life is mainly determined by hard work. Others feel that money and appearance play a more important role. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Immediately, if you read this question, what is the area that you are more attracted towards? The reality with actual situations. Which is the one situation that you are more attracted towards in this essay? It says some people believe success in life is mainly determined by hard work. Others feel that money and appearance play a more important role. Will you present only one side or both the sides? Yes, will you present both sides? Correct. So such essays, in these essays, you'll be presenting both the sides. First one, you will paraphrase it. Second one, you will provide reasons, both sides. Yes. You'll give point, reasons, and examples. So whichever side you're going to be presenting, while you're presenting both sides also, you must give your supporting views, supporting evidences. What is happening and why do you support it? Third, your stance and opposition of the view. Because if you see one view and then there is an opposite view, so while you're presenting the opposite view, you must present your position in that, and whichever view you will be taking. For example, you might take the second opinion here, thinking that yes, even I agree that money and appearance play a more vital role. If you are selecting that view, then you must provide a little more stronger evidence. How do you provide it? How do you write this essay? Whenever you get the topic, make a list of points. For point one, list down all the points that you feel are important. Then for point second, which says about money and appearance playing a more vital role, you will list down all the points. Then finally, the conclusion. Before we have a look at the answer, can all of you also write down the points for point one and point two, what you feel that you can write in your essay? Quickly, just write down the points that you can use for point one and point two of this essay. And you can post it in the chat box. While you do that, let me also explain to you what vocabulary and how much role does it play in your essay task. The reason is that some people believe that vocabulary is extremely important and they learn word of the day. But there are some common myths as well. Using the biggest word you know is not going to get you the highest band score. What actually scores is collocation, which means make a decision, not do a decision. So making use of right vocabulary. Make a decision is the correct collocation of words. Instead, if you use the words like not do a decision is incorrect phrase. So you must never use it like that. Use it correctly. Avoid repetition of words at all costs. Some of the words might be repeated. It is almost impossible for band 6 and band 7 users also to not repeat words, but avoid and minimize repetition of words. You can paraphrase words. If you have used advantage once, then do not use advantage again and again throughout the essay if it's talking about advantages and disadvantages. You might start using the word of benefit and other phrases. Utilize always sounds better than use. So using higher end words, more complicated words, because we feel that utilize will get us more marks. However, what actually is scoring is many people tend to, rather than not everyone always. Idioms are generally considered to be band 7 vocabulary. What you must focus more on are less common items used accurately and in context. Where do you, as an educator with your students, face more difficulty while teaching them vocabulary, or where have you faced more difficulty while teaching vocabulary to them? You can post that in your chat box. So, if you want to move a band level up, if you're at band 5 and you're being stuck, or you're at band 6 and you want to move up, you have 60 minutes of time. Task 1 is for 20 minutes. Task 2 is for 40 minutes. Always plan in the first 5 minutes. Before writing task 2, you must spend 5 minutes choosing the main points. Write down all the points on a piece of paper before you even start writing the main essay. If you're going to immediately start writing all the points, passivity is learning. Okay, they are extremely passive, yes. So how do you make it interactive? That's an interesting area of concern. Very good. Others also who are facing problems with vocabulary, interacting with students, they can mention it. They can mention it and we'll address during the Q&A session. So first spend key areas to think about what are the topics that you would like to address in the essay. Divide it into 4 sections. Your introduction, how will you introduce the essay? What will you write in your body paragraph 1? What will you write in your body paragraph 2? Do you plan regularly with your students? Do you plan to do this? If you don't do it, you can make it a habit from now on. Make them do this every time they write an essay. Second, use an alarm. Ask them to put a mental alarm of 20 minutes to switch from task 1 to task 2. A finished band 6 essay beats a half-finished band 9. So they don't have to always aim at band 9 essay. If they are trying to aim for complicated vocabulary, they might start losing more marks. What they have to do here is write good essay with coherence and cohesion, as we discussed, have logical flow, and it will help them get a good band score. Finally, before submitting and pressing on the button of submit, they will have some time generally to proofread. This is an extremely important step and something that students sometimes skip. You must leave about 3 minutes or 5 minutes of time to proofread the essay. Have you made spelling mistakes? Because the spellings won't be corrected automatically, the students will have to check it for themselves. So every time you read the essay, you must correct and fix all the grammar, vocabulary, and the spelling mistakes. Now let's go through all the 5 things that we learned about writing, IELTS writing, and how you can improve it. Know what the examiner is marking, what the examiner is focusing on. There are 4 criteria: equal weight, and target all 4. Task 1 is selection and not description. Do not describe each and everything. Structure every task to essay. You need to cleverly structure everything in this essay. Vocabulary is about precision, not complexity. One band up is one habit away. Plan for 5 minutes, then stick to the clock. You must proofread for 3 minutes. How many of you are following the habit of using a clock while students are writing? How many of you are doing this practice and also proofreading at the end? Okay, so Fiza is following it, I believe. She has raised her hand. Is it a question? Okay, wonderful. So Nasreen is also following it. And are the students' proofreading is being done? Very good. Are the student able to follow proofreading? Do they find mistakes at the end? Those who are following it? Is it helping them, or are they unable to find the spelling mistakes? What is your experience? They do find it. Okay, that's wonderful. And what about others? Are you using this technique? The vocabulary thing is a big issue that you are also asking, many of you, but sometimes they are unsure of spellings. Okay, so Fiza has an interesting point here, that some of the students, they are not sure of the spellings. So how do they overcome this? If this is the issue, then they have to actually learn the spellings, which can be a very important part of the IELTS writing task too, beforehand itself. Not just as part of the proofreading package, but they have to learn spellings. Very important point there by Fiza. Anyone else who is facing some problems in spelling? Yes, is online teaching. Time management, kids have. Sentence structure is awkward. That's true. Sentence structure is awkward. Where exactly do you want to say that sentence structure is awkward? Throughout the essay or during some particular topics? Online teaching needs time management and kids have to be given a break from screen time. Okay, so Nasreen has a very interesting idea of screen time and providing them a break. So she's suggesting some break for the students. That's interesting. Is expressed in a proper way or not? Rita is probably following these things, that body has main things, facts and explanation, reset to the central idea, and she's also using conclusion to proofread. And did the students gain a band up, or what is the area where students are facing difficulty, Rita, for you? Tense problem is always seen in every type of writing. That's true, Rashmi. Tense is a very big area of concern that can only be addressed with grammar. So you all can ask your questions as well. Any doubts that you're having, any questions that you're having, please post your questions in the chat box. How do the students prepare? Let me ask you one question. How do the students prepare for when the 40 minutes task 2 question comes about? How to be effective in teaching idioms and vocabulary? So the students be active. It should be taught as an activity rather than, as a lesson, both idioms and vocabulary. It should not be part of another lesson, because students actually dislike vocabulary, especially. They don't like to learn it. So if you can make it interactive like a game, then the students will become much more interactive and participate in it. And give them some incentives. Someone who is doing better in vocabulary, give them some award or something like that, so they feel better. You must always reward some students who are doing well. Others will also try to follow. Idioms are also like that, but in idioms, you need to be a little patient because idioms, it's not our natural language to speak like that, especially phrases. They take some more time. So give them some time and also ask them to write the idioms because this is about idioms in writing. So ask them to write. Unless they write the idioms themselves, their spelling will be wrong and they won't be sure about it. Maybe they are saying it, they are seeing and seeing it, but they won't be sure about it. So that was Kohli who asked the question. What about others? Guide with an activity based on idioms. I have done detective idioms. Okay, that is interesting. Did that work? Okay. So what you can do is the QR code will be shared with you and you can use that. And everyone, you can also join the pinned channel or WhatsApp channel to follow all the updates about the webinar. All the webinar updates are being provided on that. It's an extremely useful channel. So please do log into that and subscribe to that. Just click on the link. It's a pinned update over here in the chat box. Do visit that.